Hi guys, it has been a really long time since I've done a movie review. So I thought we would talk about yet another Brian De Palma movie because I just adore his stuff. We're going to talk about Obsession. And it is on Blu-ray, so I can't show you clips, but we're going to go over it. This is going to be very spoiler heavy. I think I will make an updated why I don't mind spoilers video, but you are warned, I'm going to ruin a lot of stuff in this. The three big actors in this are Cliff Robertson, who I have never really enjoyed him in a role before. The first thing I would have ever watched with him in it was Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. I didn't like him. I thought he was a mean old man, a little creepy. I never liked him. The second thing I would have watched him in is Gidget, and I thought he was a little creepy and off-putting in that. And then the third thing would have been 3 Days of the Condor, which he's an asshole in that one. Don't really love him. Something about his appearance, he just always looks sickly to me. I don't know. And I try not to let that color this movie because I actually like him in this one. I think he did a good job. He does make me squirm a little bit in this when he's just staring at someone with such lovesick eyes. It's disgusting and a little unnerving. So we have Cliff Robertson. He's playing the lead. He is Michael Cortland, and his wife / adult daughter is played by Genevieve Bujold. Then the third big role is John Lithgow. He is the business partner, and his character name escapes me. Bob something, I believe. So they are real estate partners. They are both rich. The movie takes place in New Orleans at the beginning, and the year is 1959. Yes, 59. It is interesting to see John Lithgow as a Southern gentleman. He always strikes me as a villain, even though the very first thing I can remember seeing him in was Harry and the Hendersons. When I was really little, that was like a great family movie. We watched it frequently. I loved him in it. He wasn't a villain. He was kind of a grumpy man, but I guess I could understand now that I'm older why Harry is a big liability. Anyway, we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Michael Cortland and his wife, Elizabeth. Their daughter, Amy, is annoying. I am really glad that she has very little to do with this movie. She is just, I have a real problem with child actors, and the only child actor I can think of off the top of my head that I really, really like is Quinn Cummings from The Goodbye Girl. This entire movie is a thriller. It is a brightly lit film noir, and it was scored by Bernard Herrmann, who did Sisters, which was an earlier Brian De Palma film. It is really beautifully shot. They used a lot of diffusion in it, which I feel like can be a standard Brian De Palma usage. And there's some slow motion, there is split screen, all standard Brian De Palma things. And something I've been noticing lately, Brian De Palma does a lot of lengthy shots, which I find to be very immersive when you don't have a ton of cuts. So I appreciate that greatly, that you're kind of enveloped in the story and you don't feel like you're being manipulated, I guess, because they aren't cutting away. They are showing you as it happens. I don't know, it's very much like watching something really occur. So, on the night of their anniversary, Michael and Elizabeth are in the bedroom. He's about to give her a gift. The kid cries out. She goes to see what's wrong. It doesn't come back. So he goes to investigate. There's a ransom note for the two of them because they have been abducted. And he goes and contacts the cops. They mess it all up. So they don't use real money. They hand off the briefcase, and the people who stole the wife and child are pissed. There's an escape, and the car explodes. So Michael thinks that his wife and daughter are dead. And that's what we think. We see this beautiful shot of a field that he owns with his real estate investments, and he is constructing, or he's having constructed, a monument to his wife and daughter. And it's a really beautiful, elaborate piece of work. We slowly pan around, and as we get beyond the monument, everything that was kind of dead and under construction is now full of life, full of grown trees and grass and beauty. And we finally get back to him where we had started, and he has aged. So it has now jumped into the future. Great way of showing us that. I love it. He's been sitting on this property, and now it's only a memorial and a park. So it's all natural, which John Lithgow's character doesn't really like that. He wanted to develop it, but it's Michael's money, Michael's property, his decision. And so now we have propelled ourselves into 1975. Michael and Bob go on a business trip to Florence, Italy. That is where Michael had met Elizabeth. He has history there. He hasn't wanted to go back, but now he's ready to. The two of them go over there. They're meeting with their clients, and as they are having their trip, there is a church that Michael had met Elizabeth at, and he wants to go see it. So he goes inside, and he sees this big restoration project happening, and one of the people who's working on this project is a dead ringer for his wife. So he is shocked, and that just starts a whole chain of events for him. He is becoming obsessed, like the title, and the title applies to a lot of different characters. The title is actually quite brilliant. I heard at one point it was supposed to be Deja Vu, which would have been fine, but I think obsessed covers many more bases. So he ends up staying longer in Italy. He shows this girl, whose name is Sandra, to Bob, his partner, and he stays on. Bob is impressed with how much she looks like Elizabeth, and we get a whole bunch of backstory about Sandra. We find out her dad abandoned her and her mother. Her mother is sick in a hospital, and she's basically dying, and she dies shortly into the movie, and the mother wants her daughter to marry Michael. And so we find all this stuff, and at first you're thinking, oh, it's most likely that this is his daughter. But then you're thinking, no, because she would remember him. I think she was 9 or 10 when this happened, and, she would still recall what he looked like and, remember her situation. So you dismiss that. So then you're starting to think supernatural angle, or at least these are my thoughts, Then you're thinking, well, maybe it's a supernatural thing. Maybe it's, he has somehow, like an Audrey Rose thing, like a reincarnation or something. And it can't be his wife, for sure, because she's not old enough. The movie progresses, he falls in love with her, they decide to go back to the United States, they're going to get married. Michael's just moving really fast, he's just head over heels, which is disturbing. I don't think that if I was a dead ringer for someone's dead wife that he obsesses over, that I would want anything to do with that. You're going to be held to a weird standard that is unfair and probably very old. It would get old after a while, and it's just, I don't know. I like being unique. I would not like being compared to someone else. And he's so eager, and he is so lovesick, and it's just, you feel bad for the guy. He's kind of put his life on pause for 15 years, and it's creepy in a way, but also it's kind of cute the way he is just using this as another chance. And at one point, Sandra asks about Elizabeth. She wants to know about her, and she says, well, how did she die? And Michael says, I killed her. And that's it. He leaves it at that. He doesn't follow it up with, I killed her because I, didn't do things the way that they wanted me to do them, and she died because of it. No, it sounds like he just straight up murdered her. And he doesn't clarify. We never see him clarify, which I find is weird. And I would run the other way if someone said that to me. So now they're back in New Orleans, and you're kind of wondering what Sandra's angle is. You know, she finds a locked room in the house and she wants to go inside. So she just is very inquisitive, and she starts snooping around. She's reading Elizabeth's old diary. She is going through her possessions. She is starting to become her. So then there's also the possibility that she is some sort of a body double type person, like a doppelganger, and she is using this to get his fortune or do something. And you're thinking that's a possibility. She is looking through the, the mementos and scrapbooks and things, and she finds a photo of the ransom note that was published in a newspaper, and she rips it out. And it's very bizarre because you're thinking, why would you need that? What is the point of that? And we have this beautiful, beautiful shot of Sandra standing in front of a painting that was done of Elizabeth and Amy. And it just zooms in closer and closer, so it's zooming in on the painting, the face of Elizabeth, and then it cuts to Sandra, and then it zooms in between the two of them. And just the expression in Sandra's face is just really good. It looks like she's becoming obsessed. She is emoting so much with her eyes, and you don't know what it is exactly, but you can feel that it's something painful to her, or it hits very close to home, and you're starting to think it's not just the similarity in appearance between the two of them. Although some of that could be, just shock at being so closely resembling someone that you don't know about. Michael decides to move the wedding up because people have become concerned and are pushing for him to talk to his psychiatrist, and he feels like everyone is meddling and he just wants to get the marriage on the books. So the two of them are going to get married by the Justice of the Peace in their house, and he has a dream the night before where he is marrying her in front of the painting of Elizabeth and Amy, and then they have their wedding night, and she says, I am Elizabeth now, I am your wife, this is your second chance, and don't ever leave me alone, that kind of stuff. So this is all in his dream. He wakes up, and he goes to her room where she was sleeping because they've decided to wait until marriage. He sees the ransom note that she had clipped from the newspaper, and it's up in the same spot that it had been in 1959. And he immediately rushes to get the money to pay the people who abducted her, and his John Lithgow partner, Bob, he is helping him come up with the money. And while they're in the vault at the bank, you can see the briefcase getting filled with money. Then it goes out of frame. Then it gets put back into frame. And you figure someone switched the money with something else. So he goes through the whole process again. He takes the steamboat that they asked him to take. He throws the briefcase up onto the wharf. And it's a really beautiful shot of the briefcase laying there and the old wooden dock there. And we have like skyscrapers in the background, and a big black car comes, and who gets out of it but Sandra? She runs over to the money. She opens the briefcase, and there's only stacks of paper in there. So then we have Bob, who comes out from wherever he was hiding, and he's like, oh, he doesn't care, enough about you to bring the money. And she starts regressing, and she starts saying, mommy, 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 and it's the big reveal that you kind of suspected, but then kind of got rid of it. Because at this point, you're also thinking maybe Bob was trying to catch this woman trying to take advantage of Michael. That's not what happened. This is his daughter. This is Amy, all grown up. She and Bob are working together to screw Michael. So it's just mind-blowing reveal. And she plays the role of the child, and it's so brilliant that they didn't use the actual child, but they kind of made her diminutive in this little child role, and you believe it. And she regresses and is such a good actress. I just think it was really, really well done. And so she plays the mom, and then she plays the kid. And it's all camera angles that makes it look like she's smaller, and her face is one that can be made up to look more mature as the mom, and she's very fresh-faced, and if you shoot her just right, she looks like she could be a young child. Then we get Michael, who realizes something is up because he hasn't gotten Sandra back, and he goes over to the wharf and sees the blowing papers, and he starts screaming in agony and, the deja vu of the situation. He can't handle it. He goes to confront Bob. There's a struggle. They end up fighting to the point where Bob gets stabbed by a pair of scissors. Also on the plane, Sandra she feels horrible about this. She had already told Bob that she didn't want anything to do with it anymore. She tried to give the money back. That was her cut. And she's on the plane. She's trying to write a note to Michael to explain things to him, and how this was a revenge thing, how she thought that he gave up on her when she was little, and he shipped her off to Italy where she lived with this woman who wasn't really her mother, but she was basically raised by her. And this whole revenge plot, she didn't realize that she would love him as a father. Or maybe she loves him as a husband. I don't know. There are some weird incestual currents. And so she goes to the bathroom with a pair of sewing scissors, and she is in there when one of the flight attendants comes over and is making an announcement, and she sees blood under the door. So they have to redirect the plane. So they've returned, and Michael is trying to fly out to get to Italy, and he has a gun with him and the briefcase of money that he can't undo because it's handcuffed. So there's this just amazing slow motion scene where he's walking down the corridor, she's being wheeled because she is bandaged up from attempting suicide, and she's in a wheelchair. She looks horrible, and she sees him. They meet eyes, and you're thinking he's going to shoot her. You're thinking he doesn't realize it's his daughter. He's going to shoot her because he's pissed off. Something. Or maybe he's not. Maybe he only brought the gun so that he could fight his way through. I don't know. It's not clear, but you're starting to think maybe he's going to make a tragic mistake. He's going to shoot her and kill her and find out at the last minute it's his daughter, which would have also made a good ending. But he runs in slow motion. She gets up and she runs toward him in slow motion, and the money just starts flying out of the briefcase. He finally came through with her this third time with the money, and she even says that. And it's just a cute little reunion. They embrace and they spin around, which is reminiscent of the Shot and Carrie, where Carrie White and Tommy Ross are spinning in the prom when they're dancing, although that one annoys me. That one goes on too long. This one was cute. And you could just see her face, and then he plays off of her face, and they're just happy, and it's such a roller coaster. It's really good. And it is nice that it didn't end in tragedy. So I very much appreciate the movie. I think it's really good, and I think it's misleading. I think that some of it, just from watching the movie trailer and stuff, you have certain ideas of what might be happening, but then you're like, oh, maybe not. So it keeps you guessing the whole time, and I really appreciate that. As you're watching it, you realize it can't be a straight up, this guy loses his wife and daughter, meets a woman who looks exactly like his wife, they end up getting together, and they're happily married, and that's that. It's a Brian De Palma movie, so there's some twist to it, or some other thing. There's some component to it that you are not seeing right away, and it will be fleshed out, and it will be brilliant, and it's definitely not disappointing the way that M. Night Shyamalan stuff can be. So, have a spooky day.